Captain Nari sat in her command chair, watching the stars drift past the view screen. The merchant ship Starlight Whisper moved through space at a steady pace. She had been captain of this vessel for 5 years now. Her crew trusted her decisions, and she had never let them down. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Nari liked these peaceful moments. Space trading was usually boring work, but it paid well. Her cargo hold was full of rare metals from the mining colonies. The Kethran homeworld would pay good money for these materials. A soft chime broke the silence. The communication panel lit up with an incoming message. Nari frowned. They were still 3 days from home. No one should be calling them out here in empty space. Captain, said Jen, her first officer. We have a priority message from Admiral Han. It's marked urgent. Nari's stomach tightened. Admiral Han never sent messages unless something was very wrong. She had known the old admiral since her academy days. He was not someone who panicked easily. Put it through to my ready room, Nari said. She stood up and walked to the small office next to the bridge. The door slid shut behind her with a soft hiss. The holographic display activated. Admiral Hines' weathered face appeared before her. His usually calm expression looked troubled. Deep lines of worry creased his forehead. Key, he said without any greeting. I need you to listen very carefully. Change your route immediately. Avoid all contact with human vessels. K. Do not approach them. Do not answer their calls. Key. See a human ship run. Nari blinked in surprise. Admiral, what are you talking about? Humans are barely a threat to anyone. They only got space travel 50 years ago. Ian's expression grew darker. That was 50 years ago, Nari. Things have changed in ways we never expected. The Admiral leaned forward. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. 3 months ago, the Vrex Empire controlled 12 star systems. They had the strongest military in the Outer Rim. Today, they surrendered to humans without firing a shot. That's impossible, Nari said. The Vrex have been fighting wars for centuries. They don't surrender to anyone. The humans did something to them. Hume continued. We don't know what, but whatever it was, it broke them completely. The Vrex leadership sent a message to the Galactic Council. They said they would rather die than face human retaliation again. Nari felt a chill run down her spine. The Vrex were known for their fierce pride. They would never admit defeat unless something truly terrible had happened to them. There's more, Ian said. The Sol hegemony tried to blockade human trade routes. Last month, within 2 weeks, their entire fleet command structure collapsed. Ships started having mysterious engine failures. Communication systems went down. Supply lines were cut. Sabotage? Nari asked. No evidence of it, Ian replied. But too many accidents in too short a time. The humans never fired a shot, but the Sol fleet became completely useless. Nari sat down heavily in her chair. This didn't sound like the humans she had learned about in school. Those humans were described as a young species with basic technology. They had just figured out faster than light travel. They should not be able to defeat established galactic powers. Admiral, are you sure about this information? Hyun nodded grimly. Spoken with commanders from 6 different species. They all tell the same story. Human technology has advanced at an impossible rate. Their ships are unlike anything we've seen before. Their tactics are completely unpredictable. What kind of tactics? They don't fight the way we expect, Hyun explained. They studied their enemies for months before making any move. They learn every weakness, every fear, every political pressure point. Then they applied just enough force to make resistance seem pointless. Nari tried to process this information. It went against everything she thought she knew about humans. But they're still just one species. How can they threaten the entire galaxy? Because they're not fighting like one species, Hien said. They're fighting like they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. They move with a coordination that suggests they plan everything years in advance. The Admiral's image flickered slightly. The long-range communication was starting to weaken. Nari, I need you to promise me something. If you encounter a human vessel, do not try to be brave. Do not try to help them or trade with them. Just run. I understand, Admiral. Make sure your crew understands too, Hyun added. The humans have been contacting merchant vessels throughout the sector. They appear friendly and helpful, but every ship that deals with them ends up sharing information they never meant to reveal. The communication ended. Nari sat alone in her ready room for several minutes. Her mind raced with questions. How had humans become so powerful so quickly? What did they really want? She walked back to the bridge. The crew looked up expectantly. Jin, Dae, Era, and Tae had been with her for years. They deserved to know about the danger. Gather everyone in the main meeting room, Nari ordered. 20 minutes later, her entire crew sat around the conference table. Nari looked at each of their faces. These people trusted her to keep them safe. She had to make sure they understood the new threat. I just received a warning from Admiral Hayan, she began. We need to change our plans. She explained about the human ships and the strange defeats of the Rex and Sile forces. Her crew listened with growing concern. Some of them looked skeptical. Others seemed frightened. Captain, said Ara, her communications officer, are you sure this isn't just propaganda? Maybe these other species lost because they were overconfident. I thought the same thing, Nari replied. But Admiral Hien has never lied to me. If he says humans are dangerous, then they are dangerous. Tae, the chief engineer, raised his hand. What makes human ships so special? Do they have better weapons? I don't know, Nari admitted. The Admiral didn't have technical details. Just said their technology is far ahead of what anyone expected. They, who managed the ship's computer systems, looked thoughtful. Maybe they found some ancient technology. Or maybe they're getting help from someone else. It doesn't matter how they got their power, Nari said firmly. What matters is that they have it now. And we need to stay away from them. She pulled up a star chart on the main display. I'm changing our route home. We'll take the long way through the Kepler Nebula region. It will add 4 days to our journey, but it should keep us away from any human ships. Jin nodded approvingly. Better to be safe than sorry, Captain. Are there any questions? Nari asked. The crew exchanged glances, but no one spoke up. Tae trusted her judgment even if they didn't fully understand the threat. Good, Nari said. Tae, I want you to run a full diagnostic on all our systems. Make sure everything is working perfectly. If we do encounter trouble, I want the ship at peak performance. Yes, Captain Ara. Monitor all communication channels. If you pick up any transmissions that might be from human ships, let me know immediately. Understood, Captain. Jin, plot our new course through the nebula. Avoid all major shipping lanes. Hardy working on it, Captain. As her crew left to carry out their orders, Nari remained at the conference table. She stared at the star chart, trying to understand this new galaxy they found themselves in. A galaxy where humans had somehow become the apex predators, she thought, about the warnings Admiral Hien had given her. The part that worried her most was not the military defeats. It was the way humans seemed to win without fighting. That suggested a level of planning and intelligence that was truly frightening. Nari made a mental note to be extra careful over the next few days. She had a feeling that the old, simple galaxy she knew was gone forever. In its place was something far more complex and dangerous. The humans were coming, and no one really knew what they wanted. 2 days into their new route through the Kepler Nebula, everything changed. Now I was reviewing supply reports when the bridge alarm sounded. The sharp noise cut through the quiet hum of the ship. She dropped her data pad and rushed to the command center. "Report," she called out as she took her captain's chair. Jin looked up from his sensor station. His face was pale with worry. "Captain, we have a contact. Single vessel approaching from Sector 7. Distance 4 million kilometers and closing. Fast, very fast." Nari felt her heart start to race. "Can you identify the ship?" "That's the problem, Captain. The design doesn't match anything in our database. The energy signature is completely unknown." Day's voice came from the computer station. "Captain, I'm running every scan we have. Ship is using technology I've never seen before. It's the power. Output is enormous." "How enormous?" Nari asked. 10 times what our ship produces, maybe more." Nari gripped the arms of her chair. A ship that powerful could destroy them without effort. "Ara, are they trying to communicate?" "No transmissions. Yet, Captain. They're just ... approaching. Speed. They're moving at 0.8 light speed. That should be impossible inside a nebula." Nari's mind raced. The nebulous gas clouds made high-speed travel dangerous. Most ships had to move slowly to avoid collisions with debris, but this vessel was moving through the obstacles like they didn't exist. Captain Tay called from engineering. "I'm reading massive gravitational distortions around that ship. It's like they're bending space around themselves." "That's impossible," Jen said. "No one has that kind of technology." Nari felt ice form in her stomach. She thought about Admiral Hyen's warning, about human ships with impossible technology, about enemies who surrendered without fighting. "Can we run?" she asked. "Not at our current speed," Jen replied. "They'll catch us in minutes. Jump to hyperspace. Nebula is too dense. We'd need at least 10 minutes to calculate a safe jump." "We don't have 10 minutes," Nari said quietly. The bridge fell silent except for the beeping of sensors. Everyone stared at the main screen showing the approaching vessel. It was still too far away to see clearly, but the sensor readings were terrifying. Captain Era said, suddenly, "Kalinus." Nari closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about running anyway, about trying to hide in the nebulous gas clouds. But she knew it was useless. This ship had found them easily. It could probably track them anywhere, put them through. She said the main screen flickered. A human face appeared on the display. The man looked young, maybe 30 years old. He had short black hair and calm dark eyes. His uniform was simple but well made. Most disturbing of all, he was smiling. "Greetings," the human said in perfect Kethran language. "I am Commander Wu of the Terran vessel Defiant Dawn. Please do not be alarmed. We come in peace." Nari stared at the screen. The human's accent was flawless. He spoke like someone who had studied Kethran for decades. But humans had only made contact with their people 15 years ago. "I am Captain Nari of the merchant vessel Starlight Whisper," she replied carefully. "What do you want?" "Simply to meet with you, Captain. We are explorers, like yourselves. We hoped we might exchange information and perhaps trade supplies." Human's tone was friendly and polite, but Nari noticed something in his eyes, a sharpness that reminded her of a hunting animal watching its prey. "We are a simple cargo ship," Nari said. "We have nothing of interest to the Terran Federation." Commander Wu's smile grew wider. "Oh, I think you underestimate yourself, Captain. Every ship has stories to tell. Every crew has knowledge to share. We prefer to keep to ourselves. Of course, but surely a brief meeting would cause no harm. If you have some excellent Earth coffee aboard. I'm told other species find it quite enjoyable." Nari looked around at her crew. Jin was shaking his head slightly. Ara looked terrified. Kay was studying his engineering displays like they might offer some escape route. "Commander Wu," Nari said slowly, "our schedule is very tight. We need to reach port soon." "This will only take a few hours," Wu replied. "I promise we will not delay you long." There was something in the way he said promise that made Nari's skin crawl. It sounded more like a threat than a reassurance. "Captain," Jen whispered urgently. "Our weapons are powered up. We could try to fight." Nari glanced at her tactical display. Their small merchant ship had basic defensive weapons. Nothing that could threaten a military vessel. And if the Defiant Dawn was as powerful as their sensors suggested, fighting would be suicide. "Commander," she said to the screen, "what exactly do you want from us?" "Just to talk, Captain, face to face. I find that electronic communication lacks the warmth of personal contact. You want to come aboard our ship? You would permit it? Myself, and perhaps 2 of my officers. We are all quite civilized, I assure you." Nari felt trapped. Every instinct told her to refuse, but the human ship was close enough now that she could see it on visual sensors. It was sleek and angular, unlike any design she knew. Weapon ports dotted its hull like the eyes of a spider. "Captain," Day whispered, "I'm detecting targeting scanners. They're mapping our entire ship. Are they locking weapons on us?" "No, but they know exactly where every critical system is located." Nari understood the message. The humans could disable or destroy her ship instantly if they chose to. They were being polite because they didn't need to be threatening. "Very well, Commander Wu," she said finally. "You may come aboard, but only 3 of you, as you suggested." "Excellent. We'll dock in 15 minutes. Thank you for your hospitality." "Captain." The communication ended. Nari slumped in her chair. She had just agreed to let the most dangerous humans in the galaxy onto her ship. "Captain," Jen said quietly, "are you sure about this? Do we have a choice?" Nari replied, "They could destroy us right now if they wanted to. At least this way we might learn something useful. What if they take over the ship? Then we'll deal with that when it happens." She stood up and straightened her uniform. "Jen, you're with me. Everyone else, remain at your stations. Act normal, but stay alert." "What should we tell them?" Era asked. "As little as possible. Answer their questions, but don't volunteer information," Captain Tay said from his station. "I'm watching their ship approach. The technology is incredible. They're using some kind of field manipulation to move through the nebula. It's like the gas and debris just flows around them." "How is that possible?" "I have no idea, Kia. The physics shouldn't work." Nari watched the main screen as the human vessel grew larger. It was beautiful in a deadly way, like a sword made of starlight. She had never seen anything so elegant and terrifying. At the same time, 15 minutes, she said to her crew. "Use the time to secure any sensitive information. Lock down anything you don't want them to see," Captain Day said. "Should I try to record their visit? For intelligence purposes, do it, but be subtle. They catch us spying, it might make things worse." Nari walked to her ready room. She needed a few minutes to prepare herself mentally. In 15 minutes, she would be face to face with the humans who had somehow conquered half the galaxy without anyone noticing. She thought about Admiral Hyan's warnings, about the Vrex Empire's surrender, about the Saw Fleet's mysterious failures. Soon, she might understand how the humans had achieved these impossible victories. The question was whether she would live long enough to share that knowledge with anyone else. Outside her window, the human ship moved closer, like a predator approaching its prey. The hunt was almost over. The airlock sealed with a soft hiss. Nari stood in the docking bay with Jin beside her. Both of them tried to look calm, but Nari could see the tension in her first officer's shoulders. She felt the same nervous energy running through her own body. The inner door opened. Commander Wu stepped through first. He was taller than he had appeared on the screen, maybe 6 feet in height, with broad shoulders. He moved like a dancer, each step smooth and controlled. His uniform was dark blue with silver trim. No weapons were visible, but something about him suggested he didn't need any. 2 other humans followed him. A woman with short brown hair who introduced herself as Lieutenant Yun, and a younger man named Ensign Hack. All three looked relaxed and friendly. Their smiles seemed genuine. But Nari noticed how their eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail of the docking bay. Yet to Nari, Commander Wu said with a slight bow, "Thank you for welcoming us aboard. Your ship is quite impressive." "Thank you, Commander. Welcome to the Starlight Whisper." Wu gestured to his companions. "Lieutenant Yun is my security chief. Ensign Hack handles our technical systems. I hope you don't mind that I brought them along." "Not at all," Nari replied, though she wondered why a peaceful meeting needed a security chief. "Shall we proceed to your conference room?" Wu asked. "I'm eager to learn more about Kethran culture and your trading routes." Nari led them through the ship's corridors. She noticed how the humans moved. They walked casually, but their heads turned slightly at each junction. They were mapping the ship's layout without seeming to try. Professional habits, perhaps, or something more sinister. The conference room was small but comfortable. Nari and Jin sat on one side of the table. The three humans sat across from them. Commander Wu placed a small device on the table between them. "Translation matrix," he explained. "Though your English is excellent, Captain." "Where did you learn it?" "Basic diplomatic training," Nari replied. "All merchant captains studied the major galactic languages." Thoughtful. "We've found that language barriers often cause unnecessary misunderstandings." Lieutenant Yun opened a small case and removed what looked like a coffee pot. The smell that filled the room was rich and pleasant. "Earth, coffee, as promised," she said. "Would you like to try some?" Nari accepted a cup. The liquid was dark and bitter, but had an interesting flavor. "It's quite good," she said honestly. "We're glad you like it," Wu said. "Coffee is one of our most successful trade goods. Many species seem to enjoy it." "Commander," Nari said carefully, "may I ask what brings you to this sector?" "It's quite far from Earth territory." Wu smiled. "Exploration, Captain. Humanity is still new to the galaxy. We have much to learn from older civilizations like yours. The Kethran people have been traveling space for only 300 years. We're hardly an old civilization. But you have wisdom that comes from experience. You know the trade routes, the safe harbors, the political currents. That knowledge is invaluable to newcomers like us." Jin leaned forward. "Commander, we've heard rumors about conflicts involving human ships. Vrex Empire, for instance." Wu's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Ah, yes, the Vrex situation." Unfortunate misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Nari asked. "The Rex leaders believed they could intimidate us into abandoning certain trade routes. They made threats against human colonies. We simply demonstrated that such threats were unwise by destroying their fleet." "Oh no, Captain. We never fired a shot at the Vrex. Violence is so inefficient." Lieutenant Yun nodded. "The Vrex had many enemies, old grudges, territorial disputes, economic problems. We simply helped them understand how vulnerable their position really was." "What do you mean?" Jin asked. Commander Wu sipped his coffee thoughtfully. "The Vrex Empire controlled 12 systems, but their grip was weaker than they realized. Rebellions in 3 sectors. Pirates hitting their supply lines. Corruption in their military command. Tech. They were strong on the surface, but hollow underneath. So what did you do?" "We shared information with the rebels, with the pirates, with their political enemies. We helped coordinate their actions for maximum effect." The Vrex found themselves fighting on 12 fronts at once. Nari felt cold despite the warm room. "You started a civil war. We encouraged existing tensions to reach their natural conclusion," Wu corrected. "The Vrex Empire was going to collapse eventually. Accelerated the process, okay? And they surrendered to you instead of fighting their own people. They made a practical choice. Surrender to us meant exile but survival. Fighting their own rebellions meant certain death. Ensign Hack spoke for the first time. It was actually quite merciful, if you think about it. Millions of lives were saved by ending the conflict quickly. How did you coordinate all those rebel groups? Jen asked. That would take incredible intelligence gathering. Wu's smile grew wider. Humans are very good at listening. First Officer Jen, we pay attention to details that others might ignore. I noticed he had used Jen's title without being told what it was. The humans had done their research before coming aboard. What about the Sol hegemony? She asked. We heard their fleet had mysterious technical problems. Sol made the same mistake as the Vrex, Lieutenant Yoon explained. They tried to use military force to solve a political problem, but their ships just stopped working. Did they? Wu asked. Or did their crews lose confidence in their leadership? When you're facing an enemy who knows every weakness in your ship design, every flaw in your battle tactics, every secret about your commander's personal lives, fighting becomes very difficult. You're talking about psychological warfare. We're talking about understanding your opponent better than they understand themselves. Wu corrected. The Sol fleet didn't fail because of sabotage, okay? It failed because the crews realized their leaders had led them into an unwinnable situation. Keeney was beginning to understand the true scope of human capabilities. They didn't just have advanced technology, okay? They had turned information gathering into an art form. Commander, she said slowly, how long have you been studying the galaxy? 50 years, Captain. Since the day we achieved faster than light travel. We spent the first 20 years just watching and learning. The next 20 years making contact and building relationships. Only in the last 10 years have we begun to take action. What kind of action? Protecting human interests, ensuring our colonies are safe, making sure that aggressive species understand the consequences of threatening us. And if they don't understand, Wu's smile never wavered. Then we help them learn. Education is so important, don't you think? The room fell silent for a moment. Key realized she was seeing something unprecedented in galactic history. Species that had turned patience and intelligence into weapons more powerful than any fleet. Commander, she said finally, what do you want from us? Nothing threatening, Captain. We'd like to establish friendly relations with the Kethron people, perhaps arrange some trade agreements, share navigational data about safe routes through this sector, and in return, your friendship, your cooperation, your understanding that humanity wishes only to exist peacefully in this galaxy. But if we chose not to cooperate, Wu looked genuinely puzzled. Why would you make such a choice, Captain? We offer mutual benefit with no demands for surrender or submission. We're not conquerors. Then what are you? Problem solvers, Lieutenant. Yoon said quietly. The galaxy has many problems. Piracy, aggressive empires, resource conflicts. We help solve these problems in ways that benefit everyone. Everyone who cooperates, Jin added. Everyone who chooses peace over conflict, Wu corrected. The choice is always theirs to make. Nari understood now why the warnings had been so urgent. The humans weren't conquerors in the traditional sense. They were something far more sophisticated. They had created a system where cooperation was the only logical choice. Captain Ensign Hack said, we have some star charts that might interest you. Safe routes through several dangerous sectors. Consider them a gift of friendship. He placed a data pad on the table. Nari stared at it, knowing that accepting it would be the first step in a relationship she wasn't sure she wanted. But looking at the three humans across from her, she realized she might not have a choice. They had already demonstrated that saying no to humanity was a very dangerous decision. The question was whether saying yes would be any safer. After the humans left, Nari's ship felt different. The corridors seemed darker. The air felt heavier. Even though Commander Wu and his team had been polite and friendly, their presence had changed something fundamental about the Starlight Whisper Nari. called her crew to the meeting room 1 hour after the Defiant Dawn departed. Everyone looked shaken. Ara kept glancing at the walls, as if she expected to find hidden cameras. Kay nervously checked his engineering tools. Kay sat quietly staring at his hands. "Report," Nari said simply. Captain Tay spoke first. "I ran diagnostics on all our systems after they left. Everything appears normal, but something feels wrong." "What do you mean?" "Small things. Tiny fluctuations in the power grid. Minor adjustments to our sensor calibrations. Nothing damaged. Nothing stolen, but they touched our systems." Jin leaned forward. "Are you saying they sabotaged us?" "No. It's more like they examined everything and then put it back exactly as they found it. But now our computer knows they were here." Day finally looked up. "I found something else." They left behind a small communication device. "It's integrated into our main computer system." "A tracking device?" Nari asked. "Not exactly. It's more like a relay station. It can receive and transmit messages across vast distances. Right now, it's dormant, but it could activate at any time." "Can you remove it?" "I tried, but it's woven into our core systems so carefully that removing it might damage our computer. Whoever installed it is a genius." Nari felt a chill run down her spine. The humans had been aboard for less than 2 hours. In that time, they had somehow infiltrated the most secure parts of her ship. "Hera, did you notice anything during their visit?" "Yes, Captain. Their translation device wasn't just translating. It was recording everything we said. But more than that, it was analyzing our speech patterns, our emotional responses, even our body language." "What could they learn from that?" "Everything. When we were lying, when we were nervous, when we were telling the truth. They probably know more about our psychological profiles now than we know about ourselves." Jin shook his head in disbelief. "They're not just advanced, they're impossibly sophisticated." "There's more," Day said quietly. "I've been analyzing the data pad they gave us. The star charts are accurate and very detailed, but hidden in the files are intelligence reports." "What kind of reports?" "Okay. Information about every major species in this sector. Military strength, economic conditions, political tensions, trade routes. Some of this data is more current than our own intelligence." "Files." Nari picked up the data pad and scrolled through the hidden files. What she saw made her stomach turn. The humans had detailed profiles on dozens of species. They knew which governments were unstable, which military forces were overextended, which trade alliances were weak. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a file about the Kethron Defense Force. "They know about our new star-based construction project. Okay? That information is classified at the highest levels." "How is that possible?" Jen asked. "Spies," Era suggested. "They must have agents throughout the galaxy, or something worse," Tay said. "What if they've been intercepting our communications for years? What if they know everything we've ever transmitted?" Crew sat in shocked silence. The implications were staggering. If humans could access classified military information, they could probably predict and counter any action their enemies might take. "Captain," Day said softly, "there's something else in these files. Medical data." "What kind of medical data?" "Biological analysis of multiple species, genetic weaknesses, chemical sensitivities, psychological pressure points. It's like they're preparing for biological warfare." Nari felt sick. "Show me." Day pulled up a file labeled Species Vulnerability Assessment. The document contained detailed information about how different alien biologies responded to various toxins, diseases, and environmental changes. "This is terrifying," Jin whispered. "They could wipe out entire species without firing a shot." "Maybe that's how they defeated the Vrex Era suggested. Not through civil war, but through biological attack." "No," Nari said slowly. "Commander Wu was telling the truth about that. They used political manipulation. But this data suggests They have other options if politics don't work. She scrolled through more files. The depth of human intelligence gathering was incredible. Okay? They had economic analyses, cultural studies, military assessments, and technological evaluations for hundreds of worlds. How long have they been collecting this information? Kay asked. According to these dates, at least 40 years. They started gathering intelligence almost immediately after achieving spaceflight. While we thought they were primitive explorers, Jen said bitterly. They were never primitive, Nari realized. We just saw what they wanted us to see. Day pulled up another file. Captain, look at this. It's a timeline of human expansion into the galaxy. The document showed a carefully planned strategy spanning decades. First, humans had sent out scout ships disguised as exploration vessels. These ships had made contact with dozens of species and gathered massive amounts of intelligence. Next, they had established trade relationships and cultural exchanges. But these weren't just commercial ventures. They were intelligence operations, designed to place human agents throughout galactic society. Finally, in recent years, they had begun taking direct action, but never through open warfare, always through manipulation, sabotage, and psychological pressure. It's brilliant, Era said, with reluctant admiration. They turned diplomacy into a weapon. Look at their target list. Jin pointed to another section of the file. They've identified every major military power in the galaxy. The Vrex were just the first. Nari studied the list. The Saw hegemony was marked as neutralized. The Drachner Empire was labeled under pressure. The Zephyrian Republic was tagged as monitoring required. What about us? She asked. What does it say about the Kethron people? Tay searched through the files. Here, we're classified as potential allies. They want to establish friendly relations with us. Why? According to this analysis, we control several important trade routes. Our military is small but professional. Our government is stable. We could be useful partners. Or useful puppets, Jin said darkly. Nari continued reading. The human assessment of Catherine's society was disturbingly accurate. They understood her people's culture, their fears, their ambitions. They identified key political figures and analyzed their personalities. They know everything about us, she said. Our strengths, our weaknesses, our secrets. If they wanted to control us, they could do it easily. So why haven't they? Ira asked. Because they don't need to. Not yet. They're playing a longer game. Tay pulled up a final document. Captain, this might be the most important file. It's labeled The Human Plan. The document was short but chilling. It outlined humanity's ultimate goal for the galaxy. Not conquest through force, but control through necessity. They wanted to create a situation where every species would depend on human protection, human technology, and human guidance. Okay? They're not trying to rule the galaxy, Nari said slowly. They're trying to make the galaxy need them. How? By becoming indispensable. By solving problems that other species can't solve. Okay. By making themselves the only viable option for peace and prosperity. Jen looked confused. But why? What do they really want? Nari thought about Commander Wu's words. About ensuring that human children would inherit a safe galaxy. Okay. About protecting human interests. Survival, she said, finally. They want to make sure that humanity never faces extinction. And the best way to do that is to make every other species invested in keeping humans alive. It's actually quite clever, Day admitted. If everyone depends on you, no one will try to destroy you. It means the end of independence for every other species, Era pointed out. Maybe, Nari said, or maybe it means the beginning of a new kind of galactic civilization. One where humans are always in charge, but everyone benefits from their leadership. The crew sat quietly, absorbing the implications. They had stumbled onto one of the most important secrets in galactic history. The question now was what to do with that knowledge. "Captain," Jin said finally, "what are our orders?" Nari looked at each of her crew members. These people trusted her to make the right decision. But for the first time in her career, she wasn't sure what the right decision was. "We complete our mission," she said finally. "We deliver our cargo and report to Admiral Hen. He needs to know what we've learned. And then we decide whether to join the new galactic order or try to resist it." But even as she said it, Nari suspected the choice had already been made for them. The humans were too smart, too prepared, too patient. Resistance might be brave, but it would probably be futile. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was in control of that change. The only question was whether other species would adapt quickly enough to survive. 6 months had passed since the encounter with the Defiant Dawn. Nari stood on the observation K of the Catherine Command Station, watching ships come and go from the busy spaceport. Everything looked normal, but she knew the galaxy had changed forever. The changes had started small, and pirates, who had terrorized the outer trade routes for decades, simply disappeared. No battles, no wreckage, no ransom demands. They were just gone. Merchant ships began reporting safer journeys and better profits. Then came the diplomatic shifts. Species that had been enemies for centuries suddenly found reasons to make peace. The Drachner Empire ended their border war with the Helix Coalition after mysterious technical failures crippled their war fleet. The Zafrian Republic agreed to trade deals they had refused for 50 years. "Captain Nari," a voice called from behind her. She turned to see Admiral Han approaching. The old commander looked tired. The past months had aged him considerably as he tried to understand the new galaxy they found themselves in. "Admiral," she said with a respectful nod. "Walk with me," he said. "We need to talk." They strolled through the station's corridors in silence for several minutes. Finally, Han spoke. "The Galactic Council met yesterday. 27 species attended. Do you know what they discussed?" "No, sir. How to respond to human expansion, but not how to stop it, how to join it." Nari wasn't surprised. What did they decide? Formal diplomatic relations with the Terran Federation, trade agreements, technology sharing, cultural exchanges, everything the humans suggested 6 months ago. And if anyone had refused, Hyan's laugh was bitter. No one dared. The Rex delegate spoke about the benefits of human partnership. Saw representative praised human wisdom. Even the Drachner, who have never bowed to anyone, talked about the need for galactic unity. They paused at a viewing window. In the distance, Nari could see a sleek ship docking at the station. Its design was unmistakably human. She observed. "They're everywhere," Huon corrected. "Human ships in every major system. Human traders in every market. Human diplomats in every government. And somehow, everyone thinks it was their own idea to invite them." "Maybe it was for the best," Nari suggested. "The galaxy is more peaceful now, is it? Or is it just more controlled?" Nari thought about that question. Piracy had nearly ended, but mostly because pirates found themselves facing impossible odds whenever they attacked ships under human protection. Wars had stopped, but mainly because aggressor species discovered that their enemies suddenly had access to devastating intelligence about their military weaknesses. "Admiral, have you spoken with other ship captains?" "The ones who've encountered humans, many of them. They all tell similar stories. Polite meetings, friendly conversations, generous gifts of information. And afterward, they all found themselves making decisions that somehow benefited human interests, manipulation, or just superior understanding of psychology. The humans never threatened anyone directly. They just to make cooperation seem like the obvious choice." They walked past a news terminal displaying the latest galactic headlines. of the stories were positive. Record trade volumes, reduced military spending, increased scientific cooperation. Tio, the galaxy was prospering under the new order. Captain, Hian said quietly, I need to tell you something. Cathron government has decided to join the Terran Alliance. Nari stopped walking. When? The announcement will be made next week. We're signing a mutual defense treaty, opening our borders to human ships, and establishing joint research programs. Did the humans ask for this? No. They never asked for anything directly, but our analysts concluded that alliance with humanity offers the best path forward for our people. Analysts or the computers? Hyan looked at her sharply. What do you mean? The communication device the humans left on my ship. I suspect it did more than just relay messages. It probably influenced our computer networks in subtle ways, made certain options seem more attractive than others. You think they're controlling our decision-making? I think they're guiding it, making us want to choose what they want us to choose. They reached Hyan's office. The Admiral sealed the door behind them and activated a privacy screen. Nari, I'm going to share something classified with you. Our intelligence services have been monitoring human activities throughout the sector. He activated a holographic display showing ship movements across dozens of star systems. Nari gasped at what she saw. Human vessels were everywhere, following patterns that seemed random but created a comprehensive network of surveillance and influence. They're not just exploring, she said. They're positioning themselves for complete dominance. But dominance? Of what kind? They're not occupying worlds or demanding tribute. They're just making themselves indispensable. Nari studied the display more carefully. Human ships were always present during trade negotiations, territorial disputes, and resource discoveries. They offered advice, shared technology, and provided security. Always helpful, never threatening. It's brilliant, she admitted. They're not conquering the galaxy, they're inheriting it. What do you mean? Every species is becoming dependent on human help. We rely on their intelligence for security, their technology for advancement, their mediation for peace. Soon, the galaxy won't be able to function without them. Hyun sat down heavily in his chair. And by the time anyone realizes it, it will be too late to change course. Maybe it's already too late. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Hyun checked his communication panel and frowned. Speak of the devil. I have a meeting with the human ambassador in 1 hour about the alliance, about establishing a permanent human base in our system. For mutual security, of course. I understood the pattern now. First came the friendly contact, then the helpful suggestions, then the joint projects, finally, the permanent presence. Each step seemed logical and beneficial. But the end result was human control. Admiral, what are you going to tell them? Choice do I have? If we refuse, we'll be the only species in the sector without human protection. Our enemies will see us as weak and isolated. And if we agree, we become another piece in their galactic chess game. They sat in silence for several minutes. Outside the office windows, the human ship was unloading passengers, diplomats, traders, and technical advisors. All smiling, all helpful, all working toward the same goal. Nari Hyan said finally, do you remember when we were young officers, when the galaxy seemed so vast and full of possibilities? I remember. I used to dream about exploring unknown worlds, making contact with new civilizations, building a better future for all species. We still can we? Or will we just be following human-approved plans for human-assigned futures? Nari thought about Commander Wu's words from months ago, about ensuring that human children would inherit a safe galaxy. She was beginning to understand what that really meant. Maybe that's not entirely bad, she said carefully. The humans seem to genuinely want peace and prosperity, as long as it serves their interests, and as long as we don't threaten their children. Hyan looked at her curiously. What do you mean? The humans aren't evil, Admiral, just very, very protective. They've seen what happens to species that can't protect themselves. They've decided to make sure that never happens to humanity by controlling everyone else, by making everyone else invested in human survival. The communication panel chimed again. Hien's secretary announced that the human ambassador had arrived early and was waiting in the reception area. Time to go, Hyun said with a sigh. Any advice, Captain? Listen to what they offer. It will probably be exactly what we need. And that should terrify us. Smiled grimly. Or maybe we should just be grateful that the humans decided to be benevolent overlords instead of conquerors. As the Admiral left for his meeting, Nari remained at the window. The human ship was beautiful in the afternoon light. It's elegant, powerful, and somehow reassuring, like a guardian watching over the station. She thought about her crew aboard the Starlight's Whisper. They were preparing for another trade mission, using the safe routes provided by human intelligence. They would make good profits and return home safely, protected by human guarantees. It was a good life, a safe life, a prosperous life, and perhaps that was enough. The galaxy had found its new masters. But unlike the old empires built on fear and conquest, this one was built on dependence and gratitude. The humans had learned the most important lesson in galactic politics. It's easier to rule people who want to be ruled. As Nari watched more ships arrive at the station, she realized that the warnings about human vessels had been wrong. The advice shouldn't have been to run from human ships. It should have been to recognize that running was no longer possible. The humans had won the galaxy not through war, but through patience. And perhaps, in the end, everyone would be better off for it, even if they no longer had any choice in the matter.